Welcome to the Booklicious podcast, where we take you on a journey through the pages of some of the best books out there. Today we'll be discussing about the book Piñata by Leopoldo Gout. Piñata is a thrilling mystery novel that takes place in Mexico, and it follows the story of Carmen and her two daughters. Carmen is an architect who is leading a team of workers to renovate an old abbey in Mexico. While working on the renovation, a room is uncovered that contains ancient artifacts from the point of strange to being very ancient in nature. Carmen decides to take her daughters back to home and return home. But whenever and whatever was happening in Mexico only gets worse once they arrive home. The story is full of suspense and it keeps you on the edge of your seat throughout the entire book. What I found most intriguing about this book was how the author intertwined the rich history and different cultures of Mexico into the story. The description of artifacts and the history behind them were fascinating and gave me a great appreciation for Mexican culture in general. However, I must admit that there were moments in the book where the story lacked, especially when it focused too much on the historical aspects of the plot, but overall the story was engaging and the characters were well developed. Speaking about the characters, Carmen and her two daughters were driving force of the story. Carmen's struggle as a mom and as a professional woman directing a crew of male workers was quite remarkable and relatable and added layers and realism to the story. Her daughters were also well written and I found myself rooting for them throughout the book. Gout is a new author to me, but after reading Piñata, I'm excited to see what he writes next. He has a way of blending history, culture, mystery into a captivating story that keeps you guessing until the very end. So that's all for today's episode. Thank you for joining me on this discussion of Piñata by Leopoldo Gout. If you haven't read this book yet, I highly recommend it to you. So join me next time as we dive into another book that takes us beyond our imaginations in the Booklicious podcast.